What's going on, fishy friends? I am excited tonight to really dive deep into kayak fishing. We have two kayak fishing reports tonight, one from North Carolina and the other one from Southwest Florida. We're about to bring in our man, Tim NCPIERMAN Taramelli. But before we do that, a little shameless plug. I mean, if I might say so myself, this shirt is ridiculous. It's got our sponsors on it, GI Jigs and BKD. And I mean, the artwork on this shirt is just fantastic. It's got a big, well, I'm always turned backwards on this camera. It's got a big rockfish eating a BKD on a GI jig. These shirts are available. It'll be in the chat in just a second at www.thefishingchannel.net. Go check it out. I've been out fishing in these things, and it's been like 90 degrees, and it's kept me from getting sunburned, and it breathes extremely well. So without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the evening, and we'll talk about kayak fishing. NCPIERMAN, how are you doing, sir?
Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Not too bad. Can you hear me at all?
I can hear you.
I can hear you, but I'm not having. Okay, there it is. Okay, now I got you.
All right, how you doing, sir?
Okay, there it is. Okay, now I got you. All right, how you doing, sir? Not too bad. How about yourself?
Doing well. Can you hear me? There's a long delay.
Not too bad. How about yourself? Yeah, I can hear you fine. I think I did. I'm making a mistake. Hang on one second. Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me now?
I've been able to hear you the whole time. Are you using headphones for this, Tim?
Give me 1 second. I'm trying to get back in there. I've got two going at the same time, and it's messing me up. Hang on, I'm coming right back. I've got two going at the same time, and it's messing me up. All right, I'm coming right back. You got me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right,
Come back in. Well, hang on just a second, folks. NCPIERMAN's having a little bit of a challenge accessing the studio, but he'll be back in just a second. I know he's sent me some pics of some really great puppy drum action that he's had recently, as well as taking a friend of ours of the channel, Mr. John Vale, has traveled down there recently, and John really wanted to catch a gar, I believe. Yeah, it was a gar, and Tim put him on those gar without much issue. Are you messaging Tim to see if he can come back in? So that was really kind of cool to see. I know I've seen gar swim in our waters up in the Maryland area for years, and always remarked on how pretty of a fish they were. But I've personally never caught one myself. It sounds like NCPIERMAN is working his way back. He said he's having an issue, and he's coming back. But in the meantime, we've had a lot of exciting action up here around the bay. The big redfish have moved into the southern part of the bay and all the way up to mouth of the Chop Tank is last I heard. But this area down where Tim is kind of, you know, between like New Bern and Wilmington in North Carolina, and it's just a magical spot to be. It's such a great kayak fishing area. There's so many creeks and rivers that run through there, and there's so many areas that you can only access with a kayak. I mean, you're talking like 6 inches of water to get all the way back in this creek system, and then finally get to a point to where thanks Eloy, I appreciate it, buddy. You know, styling and profiling in the shirt. Eloy, you know where you can get one, thefishingchannel.net. But it might be weird. You got to let us know if your report is coming up and you're wearing it, so we don't look like, you know, we're trying to match or something. That might be kind of creepy. But yeah, this area where NCPIERMAN fishes, and he's back here now. I mean, you'll kayak back in like 6 inches of water for what seems like, you know, a mile or so, and then you know, come across a hole which only NCPIERMAN can direct you to. It's like an 8 or 9 foot hole, and the redfish are just stacked up in there. Let's bring NCPIERMAN back in and see if it's any better now.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? NCPIERMAN back in and see if it's any better now. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's a long delay. Tim, I think the issue is going to be with your headphones. Anyone who tries to use headphones with StreamYard, it just doesn't work. Anyone who tries to use headphones with StreamYard, it doesn't work.
Hang on 1 second. All right. You're getting the reverb off of my computer is what it is.
What's that?
I have a mic.
The best thing to do is just use your phone.
All right, let me try to go back to my cell phone then. If it goes back, I can get on that easier.
Okay. Yeah. So where were we? It's just a magical fishery they have down there. You know, depending on the time of year, you've got you know, redfish, speckled trout, black drum. NCPIERMAN is the only one that I know that catches, you know, 20+ inch flounder and complains about it. He catches flounder down there all the time, and you know, he says, I think he says that they're slimy. I'm not sure what he says, but he's the only man I know that'll complain about a big flounder. Let's see if we got him back now. How we doing? Can you hear me? You got to take the headphones out, Tim.
Microphone's not coming on. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I can hear you. Take your earphones out.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. All right. Should we just cut it? Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we gave it an honest effort tonight. It looks like technical difficulties are going to end our North Carolina portion of the show a little early, but we'll be back with you guys in about 20 minutes. Well, let's try it one more time. Let's see. Tim, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, great. And you're hearing me through the headphones or just through the phone?
Through my earpiece.
Okay, good. Well, tell us.
something
We got
happened in
some
the
time
settings on
left.
it.
Tell us how the fishing's been in that area.
Fishing's been slow, but it's been steady. We're getting them on top water, we're getting them on soft plastics, and we're getting them on live baits. Right now, they're more eating on an incoming tide than they are an outgoing. The top of the outgoing, they're working well on. But once you get down in the mid tide, they kind of shut off for a while, and they don't start back up until the turn of the tide coming in. Early morning, top waters are working fine. Soft plastics are working great. I was out this afternoon, and we've got like 15-mile-an-hour winds or better here.
Oh, wow.
And I got tired of the wind. I finally left, but I did manage to grab one red on live mullet, and I missed another one. I had tons of spots and croakers that were taking my soft plastics.
Oh, man.
So it was like the water's just churned up so bad it's nothing but it's like chocolate milk.
So you said you had you caught a redfish on a live mullet. What does that
Yes.
What does that rig look like that you're rigging up your live mullet with?
Believe it or not, nothing more than a simple jig head.
Oh, wow. And what's the
16th
weight of
ounce,
that jig head, Tim?
16th ounce.
So it's a little bitty one.
Yep.
And
It's
I
got
remember I remember when we fished with you, Tim. There was, I think it was you that that hook on that 16th ounce jig head is a pretty good size for a 16th ounce jig. Is that correct?
yes, it's a four-out mustad.
So where do you get that jig head from? Because that's not your, most tackle shops, if you go find a 16th ounce jig head, that's going to be a pretty small hook.
Yeah, they're tiny. I buy them from a place in Pennsylvania called Ken's Jigs. He's also on Facebook. He does all his own pouring. He'll pretty much pour me whatever I want. Being I fish a lot of shallow waters and not a real heavy current to them, I don't want to go with an 1/8 ounce or a 1/4 ounce. I want to go with a 16th ounce, something that gives it, it can move a little bit instead of sitting in one spot.
So NCPIERMAN, if you used, if you just, free lined it, if you just put the same size mustad hook into the mullet, what would happen?
About the same thing. The mullet's still going to move. It'll move a lot more freely, being that 16th ounce isn't pulling its nose down. Like I said, we have some current here, as you saw when you were here. It's not a real heavy current most of the time. It depends on whether we're having king tides or whatnot, and the pull of the moon that actually makes that water move a lot faster than what it does, and your wind currents as well. I normally won't use just a single hook unless I'm floating it under a cork. I don't use popping corks. A lot of people like them. I just don't see any reason for them. I'll put a live mullet under a cork, something similar to this. It's a weighted bottom, and I'll just let it drift. I can actually make that pop just like I could a popping cork if I needed to.
Yeah.
But a smaller profile and just let it drift with the current or let the bait pull it around. Matter of fact, John Bale the other day caught a 30-inch red with that same setup. Put a big live mullet underneath it, about 1.5 feet, 2 foot below the cork, and let it go. We were in maybe 20 inches of water. So I didn't want the mullet to get down to the bottom and hang there. I wanted him to move around a little bit. And so John actually had that.
How big is a big mullet for you?
5 to 6 inches.
Okay. And you put you use that 16th ounce jig head, and where do you hook the mullet?
I come up between the eyes and the nose, right in the center, just before the eyes. If you go too far back behind the eyes or in towards the eyes, you'll end up sticking it in your brain and kill it. So it's basically no use. Now, when I use a Carolina rig, which is I use light weights. I use 3/8 ounce with a barrel swivel and 6 to an 8 inch leader at most with a 2/0 circle hook, and I'll hook them in the corner of the eye and come up towards the top of the head, so it sits. He's able to breathe naturally, and he'll still swim around in circles, but not really bad. They can move around really good. And the reason I use a short leader is drum are a bottom feeder. When they're cruising around, they're not up in the middle of the body water column. They're down on the bottom, and they're just slowly moving along. So if I keep that fish down in its eyesight, chances of me getting a hit on it's going to be a lot better than it's sitting above its head. You see what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah. Because that's where he's going to be naturally looking anyways.
Exactly. Now, like with our temperatures today, we were pushing, I want to say 104, 105 heat index. So the water's really hot.
Yeah.
These fish, drum are lazy. They don't want to chase if it's too hot. They're no better than we are. I mean, if it's hot for us, we don't want to do anything. So when the drum gets finicky like that in the heat, what I end up doing is I turn around, I'll throw a live mullet out on a Carolina rig. If nothing hits it within the first 5 minutes, because I basically know where my drum are always at, I'm going to bring that back in, and I'm going to clip it off right at the meat, right at the end of the tail. And then I'm going to throw it back out, and I'm not even going to put that thing in a rod hole, because I know there's fish there, and as soon as that thing hits the water and sits there and flicks a little bit, something's going to grab a hold of it and take off.
If they're there.
90% of the time where I fish at, I know my body of water. I've been here 21 years now. And I can tell you without a doubt that if I take you into a spot and tell you that you're going to catch a fish in there and how to do it, you're going to catch a fish there.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because obviously the easiest thing for people to do is to book a trip with you. So let's get to that first, and then I want to get on to something else. But how does someone book a trip with you?
I'm on Facebook under NCPIERMAN Taramelli. You can message me on there, or you can call my cell phone, which is area code 910-581-4287.
Say the phone number one more time.
910-581-4287. Leave a message if I don't answer, because I'm usually working or fishing, one or the other. Or I should also know I'm on up at my hunting camp.
Yeah, and guys, everyone watching back home, I will tell you that this fishing area that Tim is doing this report for, it is very magical, but you do sort of have to know it. Now, like I said, the easiest thing for people to do is to book a trip with the number on the screen. However, when you were learning this area, Tim, and you were figuring out where the fish were, what sorts of things were you looking for, and how have you seen that play out in terms of where the fish stack up, without giving us, we don't want the spots, obviously.
It all depends on the time of the year and your water temperatures too. 90% of the time I looked at red drum, I talked to a few people when I moved here to kind of help me figure out what they do and how they act. So from what they told me, I followed in through it, and I did my own research on it on the water. Drum are no different really than a largemouth bass or a smallmouth bass. They're a predator fish. They tend to hug the bottoms, like I said. They will take top waters, which is a given. They will take soft plastics. Soft plastics are down on your bottom. They'll take subwalkers. They'll take middle column lures like XR8 Ghost X wraps and stuff like that. Twitch baits. I always try to, when I go to a new body of water, I'm always looking at the water and I'm figuring out which way the baits are traveling, where they're traveling. You find bait, you're going to find predator fish. A drum is a predator. So he's an ambush predator. So what you want to look at when you're looking in new areas, in a bay area or whatnot, wherever you're going to go and fish, is what kind of structure you have in there. Do you have oyster beds? Do you have sandbars with drops in them? Do you have little bell holes in there? Anything like that is going to hold reds on. They may not always be in there, but 90% of the time they're going to be there. They're waiting for bait to come through that current area, through those points, those ledges, whatever, and they're going to ambush it one way or the other if they're hungry. Um, 90% of the time, I don't care what lure you throw, you're going to catch reds on it. If that fish is hungry, he's going to eat. And if he sees something on the surface or hears something on the surface, he's going to come for it. I can lead people to fish. I just can't make them catch them because I can't control when the fish is going to eat.
Sure.
I kind of studied over the years of fishing here, the patterns of what tides they eat on. This area down here, the fish are very tide dependent. It may be an outgoing tide they're eating on one day or 1 week or 1 month, and then all of a sudden it switches up and it goes to the incoming tide. And it could do that within the day. It doesn't really make a difference. You have
really
to,
interesting because we do a report just north of you, and with Captain Captain Dana, and he they don't, the tide is not nearly as significant up there as it is just a
no,
little
they
bit
got more.
south of where you are.
Yeah, they got more of a wind tide than they
Mm-hmm.
do a current tide, and that makes a huge difference. So there's really not much of a tide play, and they're not very tide dependent
Sure.
because there's really no tide there. Here we have a tide.
And from what you said tonight, and you've told me before, and I apologize if we're being repetitive, but you prefer an incoming tide because it brings in cool water from the ocean, right?
Yes, sir. Exactly. Especially now with this water in the shallows. Like most of the time I'm fishing, you've seen my kayak before. I can float in 3 inches of water.
Yeah.
A red will get into those shallow waters where half of his body's out of that water, but he's crawling so slow because it's also hot water. And he's looking for food. So whatever he sees laying around, he's going to grab, even if, whether it's cut bait or it's a lure. I love lure fishing, but I also love catching fish, and I'm going to do what the fish dictate me to do. If
Sure.
they're not touching my lures, I'm going to give them what they want. I'm going to give them a chunk of meat. I'm going to give them a live mullet, or I'm going to cut that mullet up and give it to them.
Sure. So you're fishing early morning, which is, from what I'm hearing, that's the time where, artificial is going to be effective, right?
Yeah,
Early morning on an
very much so.
incoming tide where you got cool water, the fish are feeling a little bit spunky. Which artificial are you throwing? And, what's your technique?
I have 3 different lures that I actually throw as far as top water is concerned. One is my favorite all-time lure is the Top Dog Junior in an 808 color. It's got an orange belly. This one's a broken glass one. It does work a little bit better in dirtier water, and it's black top. It's a
Why
walking
do you think
dog
that is
type lure.
dirtier water?
Again, reds are a bottom feeder. They go more by sound than they do anything else, sound and smell. Um, of course, my lures don't smell except for other fish that's been caught on them. Um, they shallow waters like that on an incoming tide, especially if the water's like I fish a lot of stain water. The Noose, the northern end, that's all mainly clear water, clean.
Yeah.
Our water is so stained right now you can't see your paddle in a foot of water. But that darker color seems to make them listen more than they see, and this has a really deep thud to it. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can hear that.
Yeah. That's a good size. Is that even a BB in there, or is that it sounds more like a slug?
It's almost like a bearing.
Yeah.
Then I like the spooks as well. Um, I use my spooks more for trout than I do anything else, but these are more tinny sounds.
So is that a Spook Junior, or is that a full size spook?
This is a Spook Junior, and this one is a custom one. I did this one myself.
Nice. So you put pink on the front of it?
So I took some what is it? Pastel pink coloring just to try it one year. The trout were around pretty heavy, and they weren't really touching the spook, and trout love pink. So I painted just ahead of that pink. I went out, and in 5 throws, I was done fishing. I had 4 trout and a red drum throws, and I was done. I was good. I had my limit, and it's only done that every once, but I've caught fish on it after that. Now, my other favorite lure is the mirror lure top prop.
Oh, it's got a prop on the back of it, doesn't it?
It's got a prop on the back and on the front.
Now, that's top water then, huh?
This is a lure that's designed more, you throw it out, and you want to make it sound like a menhaden or a bait fish flipping on the surface. Yeah. I give it 2 big tugs, and I'll let it sit and drift a little bit because we have a current. So after I throw it and it hits the water, I'll wait a few seconds, and I'll pop, and I'll let it drift 4 or 5 feet, and I'll pop, and then I'll go back to 2. I'll keep going back and forth on it. I don't steady reel them. You can steadily reel them. They're designed for that as well, kind of like a whopper plopper. But the best way I have that they work for me is by popping them on the surface like that and letting them drift.
So, Tim, if someone were to book a trip with you, obviously we're looking into August now, and then into September. What's the outlook usually for the next couple of months? Is there a species change? Do you get more black drum mixed in? What are we looking at for the next few months?
The cooler the water gets, the more black drum I start seeing. My red drum will, like right now, the big schools are pretty much broke up. You'll find schools 5, 10, maybe 15 fish at a time. But if you turn around and you go in August, September, then you start seeing trout showing up, heavier, bigger trout. We're still catching trout now. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine caught a trout while I was on the water with him today. And your black drum will start showing up as the water clears more, cleans up some. In your deeper holes around your bridge pylons and stuff up here, in your big oyster bed areas with big drop-offs, 8, 9 foot holes. Like you guys caught black drum when you were with me that day. That was a 14-foot hole in there.
Yeah.
We literally scraped the bottom of your boat to get up there.
Yeah. Check out the video. It's there. Tim, thank you so much for your time. We actually have to run to the Southwest Florida report. But we have you every month this time. What is this? The fourth Thursday of the month at 7:30. So if you guys want to stay on top of the action in the, I don't know, what do we call this? So sort of north of Wilmington area, right?
Yeah, we're up north of Wilmington. I'm 2.5 hours away from Wilmington area. This is the Crystal Coast. Yeah. No, well, I'm sorry. I said 2.5. That's Fayetteville. I'm about an hour and 10 minutes from Wilmington area.
Okay, well, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Book a trip with Tim. It'll be an experience of a lifetime. And check us out here in a couple of minutes for our Southwest fishing kayak fishing report. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Tim.
Have a good night. Thank you.
You too.
Young, just hang around. Too proud to be your